Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. Everything that's wonderful is what I feel when.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to cordially welcome you to this very special segment. It is our honor and privilege to introduce to you the man, the myth, the legend. First and foremost, father, loving husband. He is an author. He is a comedian. He is a psychologist. And also, Phil, he's a professional speaker. So how do you feel about yourself after that resume? We are so excited to have him today. Ladies and gentlemen, the talented and wonderful Dr. Matt Bellace. Put those hands together.
Oh, thank you. I feel like I should be dancing with you guys. You're so high energy.
We're so excited to have you here today, and I know that Phil and I were super pumped to collaborate with you and get you involved in this very special summit that we're taking part in now. So we really appreciate your time, first and foremost.
My pleasure. Every time I see Phil too, I'm like, why is Christopher Titus? Oh, that's Phil. You guys.
Thank you, guys. I'll take the salary that goes with that. All right. Well, Matt, we were so proud and excited to have you as part of the Train of Positivity virtual summit. But we just want to know during these unique times, we just want to know how you're keeping yourself physically and mentally well, because we think going through your eyes and your actions, I think we can learn a lot about things maybe we could consider for ourselves.
Well, to be honest, it's been a roller coaster, right? So anybody who speaks full time and all of a sudden their spring is gone, that means your income is gone. And for me, it was like the first 2 weeks were so hard. I went from full-time speaker to mediocre homeschool teacher, waking up at 4 a.m. and I'm like, is this chest tightness coronavirus or is this just economic collapse? Oh, it's economic collapse. That's good. I think I'll be all right. Tremendous stress and pressure. And I got 2 little kids and the house and the wife. And it's like, what am I going to do? And then all of a sudden I start to realize what I've been talking about for all these years, talking about social support and leaning on your support, right? It was the friends, colleagues like yourselves, clients who were the ones that picked me up. They were the ones that said, no, Matt, your message is going to be needed. Guys like you, a psychologist, comedian, you're going to be needed during this time. We need you to put something together. And they sort of picked me up and had me, started to focus on the future and what I could do instead of what I can't do. So that's kind of psychologically brought me back. Physically speaking, I try to stay active. It's hard with homeschooling and trying to work at the same time. But I get out with the kids 2-3 times a day. And I think probably the most exciting part of this is that you get to do things that you probably didn't do a whole lot of before, if ever, right? So I'm trying to focus on not what's been taken from me, but what I can take from all this, which is, wow, these are opportunities I just either missed or wouldn't have had before.
And now, Matt, we know you're quite the interesting fella. You got a lot of balls in the air and you have your hands in a lot of different things. And we know that you do have a Ph.D. in clinical neuropsychology, and you're also a comedian. So this is the whole chicken and the egg thing, baby. What came first, and what can you tell us about your background? Because you are extremely interesting.
It's an odd combination. I'll admit, I got a call from a TV producer once who said, we need a psychologist who's funny, and you appear to be the only one. And I was like, I guess that's a compliment. That interview got me the gig on a show called World's Dumbest on truTV, which lasted for, I don't know how many seasons, a fun show to do. The overall message is, how does this happen? And for me, I was born loving stand-up, didn't think I could do it, but loved trying to be funny and loved telling jokes. But it really wasn't until I started speaking in college, I started a prevention group at Bucknell University, and the group still exists 26 years later. We had some attention from the media, and that was a big story. Here's my daughter, by the way, to interrupt. She interrupts every Zoom call.
Hello. How are you?
Okay, can I go back to this? To try to get to the answer to your question, like what comes first? It's like the sense of humor is there, but when I started speaking in my 20s, I didn't know how to translate that to the presentation. And it wasn't until I started going to comedy clubs and doing open mics back in Philadelphia
which is a pretty easy crowd, right?
There was a club called the Laugh House where Kevin Hart started there about a year before I arrived. And it was the toughest place in some ways, but also the best place to do open mics because the audience would boo you if you weren't funny and cheer you if you were. So you got the instant feedback. And so I found out right away, like, wow, you're going to sink or swim here. It kind of molded me and got me some work on the weekends, led to me meeting a long lost cousin who happened to be a headlining comedian who was on America's Got Talent named Joe Matarese. Wow. I opened for him for 3 years. He invited me. He goes, if you're going to be a comedian, you got to open for me. And so while I'm finishing my dissertation, I'm in the clubs on the weekend and speaking. So it was like way too many balls in the air. And so once my son was on the way, he's my oldest, I said, I got to choose a path here. And it was speaking because it could help me integrate with my education in neuropsychology and the comedy, but in a way that was really fulfilling.
And I mean, if that isn't enough, then on top of presenting, dissertation, and then you just say, what the hell? I'm going to write a book. And what Phil and I love about your book, The Better High, is the fact that you like to give people the tools as to what is in your control and what can you do to improve your life in many different aspects. So based off of that book, are there any natural highs that you feel improve mental health? Or what suggestions would you give to people, especially during a time like this?
Geez, they all do. So the whole concept of the book was comparing the chemical high that many people turn to change their mood and comparing it to the natural high, which might not be as intense, but is certainly better for you and your mental health. And so some of the simplest ones are the exercise natural highs, running being the most well-studied, but anything that gets your heart rate up for 30 minutes or more is going to change how you feel, even if you don't like the activity. I use the analogy in the book of jumping in cold water. It's going to be cold, right? And it's going to change how you feel. Regardless of your opinion on that water, you're going to get out and be invigorated. You're going to be like, whoa, that was intense. But you know what? My mood is up. And there's so many that are in the book that I talk about. But I think if you can incorporate 2 or 3 every day, be it listening to music you love, cooking a meal, eating great food, having a laugh with friends, exercising, regularly, which I know both of you are into, and it's so important. Just find something you can do. You don't have to be great at it because the human brain was designed to move and move outside.
I love that. I think it's so important. I think a lot of people are looking for different ideas from everybody. Hey, what can we do at this time to keep our mood up and to enjoy it? And I think those were some awesome examples. And speaking of kind of keeping life good and well-rounded, we know you're a huge fan and supporter of like service and giving back to people to kind of give a well-rounded whole life. In these unique situations, we're seeing still people that are able to do that. Could you kind of talk a little bit about giving back and still reaching people even when we can't physically be together? Are there ways to do that might help us out?
Yeah, so it's funny that the helpers, it isn't so much about what you get, it's about what you're giving to others. It feels good to help people, but when you can see the impact that you have, it can really just move not just yourself, but others. And so during this time when we're supposed to be, socially distant, it doesn't mean that we can't be socially engaged. And so there are examples locally of people, helping out with food banks, people helping neighbors. In my world, it's all about reaching out to schools I've worked with this year and saying, is there anything I can do for your seniors? I know some of them are hurting. Not all of them. Some students are like, this is the greatest thing ever. The social pressure is gone, right? The fear of missing out, gone. Nothing's happening. But the social students among them are the ones that are really feeling it, right? And so just the ability to suggest ideas, like reach out and help with some of my expertise. Look within yourself and say, what can I do? Because meaningful work is definitely one of the pillars of happiness. And just because even if you're unemployed, as I found myself, certainly for the first several weeks of this whole thing, I was still looking for ways to help because I knew it would take me out of my own head. And as a meditator, which is another natural high, meditators know that if you want to get out of your own head and away from your own anxiety, the best thing to do is start thinking of other people because it just magically shifts your focus. And those fearful thoughts that you have are now in the background as you're thinking of somebody else.
I think that's great. And you pointed out so well, when you help others, just how it inspires in that. And I know that we are on a tight schedule here with Keeping with the Train, a Positivity Virtual Summit. But I want to personally thank you for your time today. And that if others want to reach out to you, because obviously 10 minutes is nothing compared to your entire story and all that you offer the world, are there great ways for people to reach out? To get a hold of you if they ever want to just learn more about what you do or your books, or even to have you come and speak virtually or one day in person again?
Thanks for asking. There's probably about 67 ways people could find me if they wanted. I guess the preferred way is my website, which is mattbellace.com, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the places you guys hang out. Just my name, Matt Bellace. So thank you so much for having me.
So we really appreciate your time today.
Thanks so much, and I hope to see you guys live real soon.
Bye.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks,
yeah.
Matt.
Oh,
Of course.
bye,
That'd be
Sydney.
wonderful. Bye, Sydney.
Thanks so much for joining us for the Train to Positivity Virtual Summit. We hope you choose to have a great day. Please be sure to check out other positive influencers throughout the summit. And if you enjoyed this specific talk, feel free to like and subscribe and share with other positive humans through your favorite social media outlets using the hashtag #TrainOfPositivity.